This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys. So in the last class, so we were talking about parameterization. So there are two ways that we can do the parameterization. One is using the CSV data config file, wherein the data will be picked up sequentially, and then there was a random CSV config file as well, config element as well, wherein the data will be picked up randomly. So for this random CSV data set, you would need a plugin. From the plugin, you will be able to get that particular config element. Okay, so so that's what it is, guys. So that's what we have discussed so far as the parameterization is concerned. So now today we will discuss about the correlation. Okay, we'll discuss about the correlation part. So how to do the correlation in Jmeter? Okay, so we go step by step and we'll try to understand as much as possible today. So if not, we'll continue whatever the remaining things in the correlation tomorrow. So first thing, correlation is done for dynamic values. Okay, so correlation is done for dynamic values. So what are dynamic values? Okay, the values, okay, which change from iteration to iteration or user to user. So these are basically, we call them as dynamic values, and correlation is done in case, okay, these dynamic values are not handled, okay, they are not handled, okay, then your script usually fails. Okay, so this is the main reason why we need to handle the dynamic values. Okay, so what happens if the dynamic values are not handled? Obviously the script will fail, and that's the very reason why you wanted to handle the dynamic values. Okay, so we have Noble, Leslie, Hagos, Gaurav, Atinaf, Abdisa, and Scott. Okay, so that's what is the attendance for today, and then Raghu has just joined. Okay, let's see if there are any more people. Okay, so let me record the script, and then first we will identify the dynamic values. Okay, first in a script, how to identify. Okay, so first we will go ahead and identify the dynamic values, and then the second way is like we will go ahead and correlate. Second step is to go ahead and correlate the dynamic values. Okay, so what am I going to demonstrate now today? First step, how to identify the dynamic values. So we know how to identify the dynamic values using LoadRunner, but we will see how to handle the dynamic values using Jmeter. So usually in LoadRunner, guys, how do we identify the dynamic values, guys? How do you identify the dynamic values if it was LoadRunner? Can anybody tell me from previous classes, whoever I have attended, any chance you remember? So how to identify the dynamic values, if it was a load runner, how do we do it? Okay, so that's how you handle the correlation using the left boundary and right boundary. Abdisa, Hakos, I totally agree with you. But how to identify the dynamic value? And once we have identified the dynamic values, we use the left boundary and right boundary, and we'll go ahead and correlate it. Okay, that's what we do. But how to identify the dynamic value itself? Wonderful. Okay, Noble, I do agree. Design Studio will show it, but if it's not for the Design Studio, you will record the script twice. How do we do it? Okay, we record the script twice and then compare both the recordings. Since it's a dynamic value, every time the value would change. So it changes from iteration to iteration. When we record it twice, the first recording will be the first iteration, the second recording will be the second iteration, the value will change. So when you compare both the recordings, whatever is changing, okay, whatever the value, I mean whatever it means, whatever the value, okay, that is changing, okay, whatever the value that is changing, typically, okay, typically those values are those values might be dynamic values. Okay. Same thing we will do with the Jmeter as well, guys. So we will record the script twice, and whatever the value that is changing from iteration to iteration, okay, definitely those values when we record it twice, those values will be recorded completely differently, because the values will change from iteration to iteration. The first recording will be your first iteration, the second recording will be the second iteration. The values will change from the first iteration to second iteration, or usually they are called the dynamic values. So definitely when you compare both these recordings, whatever the values that are changing, those are the values which are most likely to be dynamic, correlated. Not necessarily that needs to be correlated, but most likely to be correlated. Those are the values most likely to be correlated, guys. Okay, so shall we proceed, guys? Shall we go ahead and record it? So the first step is to go ahead and set up the proxy. So I'll go ahead and set up the proxy here. It's a very simple step, as you know. Go to settings and go to proxy. Okay, and set up the proxy. Okay, now I'll go ahead and use the JPEG store application itself, but from CF apps. Okay, so a regular application is not, I mean, whether you are correlating or not, it is still working. So that's the reason why I'm using a different application, okay, which is CF apps. Okay, so this is the URL with which that's the URL that I'm going to use for demonstrating the correlation, guys. Okay, so the proxy has been set. Okay, so let me open my Jmeter. Wonderful, guys. So I'm going to create a new script. Whenever you create a new script, it's better you start from the templates. I'll go ahead and start the templates from recording. You can either use the recording or recording with ThinkTime if you're using the web applications and HTTP web applications. Okay, so this is one of the templates you can use, but for now, typically I would request you to use this one, because ThinkTimes will be automatically added by the Jmeter. You need not have to add it separately. So I'll go ahead and use this template which is recorded. So HTTP script recorder is already there. You just have to go ahead and enable it. And then the proxy is 8888. Same proxy has been set here, I believe. Okay, so which will be 8888. Okay, 8888. So just go ahead and use that one. Okay, now the recording is there in the recording controller. So let it be there in the recording controller. Instead of recording controller, I'll create a simple controller called recording 1. Okay, so recording 1. Okay, and then I'll add one more simple controller called recording 2 as well, and the recording 1 will be recorded in the first controller, recording 2 will be recorded in the second controller, recording 2 will be recorded in the second controller. Okay, so I'll go ahead and use these two controllers, wherein the first time when I record, I'll put all the samplers in the recording 1. The second time I record, I'll put everything in the recording 2. Okay, so usually by default you try to, when you go ahead and use this template called recording, the standard setting that you use is put each group in new transaction controller. In fact, ideally, if you're recording, this is how it should be. But now I'm recording so that I can compare both these recordings. So it's better you do not group these samplers, so that it is easy for us to compare these two recordings if I don't group it. Even though you group it, it's still not an issue. But here I'll choose not to group it so that it becomes easy. Okay, and I will not retrieve any embedded resources and all that, which we have already discussed as to why we are not supposed to do that. Okay, so let me go ahead and start recording. But before recording, one step is, first select the first time recording. I'll want all the recording to be in the recording 1, so I'll appropriately select that one. Okay, so good morning, Abdul. So go ahead and start recording. Okay, now let me try recording in the Google Chrome and see if I'm able to do it. The transaction name, I'm not going to give the transaction name, because this is only for the comparison purposes. Okay, you see, if I'm trying to use my Google Chrome to record, it says your connection is not private. Typically what people will do when you get something like this is, you go to advanced, okay, and see if there is any option to continue. Usually they give an option at the bottom to continue, but it's not giving. Okay, and when you see these issues, right, when you see these recording issues, typically, if I were you, what I would do is I'll immediately import the certificate, okay, into the controller, into the browser. That could be one reason why I'm getting this problem. So let me import the certificate, okay. And we already seen how to import the certificate, folks, okay. So so its certificate usually will be in your bin folder, which is Apache Jmeter temporary root CA certificate. Try to import the certificate and select the option automatically select the certificate store. Okay, don't you need not have to manually give it. Now the certificate is imported. So let me go ahead and again start recording. Give it a shot. If it records this time around. Okay, so okay, still we are having the same issue. The issue is not resolved. Again, usually what I'll do is I'll clear the cache and cookies. Okay, if the issue, whatever the issue that is there that we are seeing, if the issue prevails, okay, so clear the cache and cookies. Okay, so usually we can do it for the all time. Okay, clear the browser history. If you want, you can clear it. Okay, I would not want to choose to do it, but clear the cookies and clear the cache images. These are the two things which are important. Okay, so all time, I'll go ahead and clear it. It will take a little bit of time because you're saying all time range, not just last 1 hour or last 24 hours. So whatever, I don't know when I've last cleared the cache cookies, maybe 1 year back or maybe 2 months back. Maybe as a part of the class, if I had to clear something, I have cleared it. But it's been a while, so it will take a little bit of time, guys. So just hold on. And today expect the class to go a little longer. Okay, so now let's go ahead and refresh it to see if recording happens. Okay, let me go ahead and start recording now. Okay, now try to launch the application. Okay, still we are getting the same issue. You see now, after clearing the cache and cookie, it says proceeding to, it gives you still get this issue, your connection is private. But now when I go to advanced, now there is an option called proceed to jpet store cfapps.io. Now it will go to the application. Okay, are we clear? Because in the interview they might ask you what is the recording issues that you might have faced. Okay, and even if this doesn't work, okay, go to Internet Explorer and then try to do the same thing. I mean, instead of recording from the Google Chrome, you could record it from the IE, Internet Explorer. Usually it works. Okay, 95% of the times it works. Even that didn't work. I told you how to create the script from there are different options. One is Jmeter plugin, one is Bad Boy, or one is developer tools. Developer tools, you have all the samplers which will be recorded. You can take those samplers, create a hair file. From the hair file, you create a Jmeter store. This is what you might talk about in the interviews in case if they ask you if you have what are the issues that you have faced while you're recording. Okay, wonderful. Now let me go ahead and enter the store. I'm not going to give any transaction names or anything because my purpose over here is to record twice and then compare both of them and identify the dynamic values. Okay. So here J2EE and J2EE is not working in this particular URL, which is jpetstore.cfapps.io. So I have created a user called Isha Test1 and password also I have created Isha Test1. You can create your own username using this register now button, guys. Okay, so oh, the credentials are invalid. Probably I have done it a couple of days back, so they would have cleared the database at the back end. So that's why they are not allowing. It is not allowing us to enter with that credentials. So what I'll do is now I'll stop recording. Okay, I'll change the proxy back and create a user. Okay, because whatever the user that I've created looks like they have erased the database. Looks like they do it on a regular basis because they don't want to fill up their database. So let me go ahead and create, okay, Isha Test1. Okay, with this username I'll try to create a username and password. Okay, I'll try to give the same value. In case if it errors out, maybe I'll try to identify and change those values. Okay, email address I'll say, okay, gmail.com. Okay, phone number should be numeric, so it is doing some validations at the back end. Wonderful. Zip code should be numeric, so just give me some zip code. Okay, so password must not be null. Okay, wonderful, not an issue. Okay, okay. So J2E looks like it's working, guys. Now it is automatically showing probably it's working with J2E. Yeah, J2E is working, guys. Okay. A couple of days back I tried it, it didn't work out. So now we have two users, J2E, and just now I created Isha test 1 and Isha test 1. Okay, you can use one of them. Okay, Isha test 1 is also working, just now I've created it. Okay, so let's go ahead and record it, guys, again. Okay, if something got recorded, so let me go ahead and clean up this one. Okay, so this is the problem with recording in a simple controller. If I would have recorded in the recording controller, I would have said just clear all samplers. Now what I'll do, I'll select all of them. Okay, and just delete the samplers. Now go ahead and record it again. Okay, go ahead and record it again. Okay, so here is the launch. Okay, here is the sign in, and then go ahead and sign in with J2E itself, and then sign out. Okay, so hopefully the settings are such that the recording happens in recording 1. Okay, nothing got recorded. Weird. Or did I set up the proxy? Oh no, I didn't set up the proxy. That's the problem. Okay, now I've set up the proxy. I'll go ahead and record it. Okay, so let's go ahead and record it, and then clear all the log as well. Okay, and then when you go ahead and record it in the recording controller, and then save it here. I'll try to save the log file. The log file is important for us. Instead of save it in recording.xml, which is okay as well, let me try to save it on my desktop. Okay, so you can say that, recording.xml itself. It doesn't matter, but I wanted it to be saved in the desktop. Whatever the log that gets created over here, I wanted to save it on the desktop. Okay, wonderful. So now go ahead and record it. Okay, so now this time around it will happen. The recording happens. Earlier the proxy was not there. Okay, so that's now it will not. Now it is not allowing. So again I have to go ahead and clean up the cookies. So let me clean up the cache and cookie. So every time maybe we might have to do this, guys. Okay, so that's when it starts recording. Okay, now let me go ahead and try it again. Okay, go ahead and sign in. Okay, so let's try with J2EE and J2EE. Without recording, if I have used this username password, it worked. So with recording also it should work. It has worked. You are able to log in and then sign out. Okay, now stop recording and expect all the recording to be there in recording 1. Wonderful, it's there in recording 1. Now the second recording, I'll try to do it in the simple controller called recording 2. Okay, now start the recording again. Okay, use the same application. Okay, okay, now go ahead and click on sign in. But this is the second recording, guys. Okay, use the same username or a different username. Okay, and finally sign out, and then stop recording. Wonderful. Okay, so so Diva, if you have any comments, you can unmute yourself and speak, because the new versions of GoToMeeting comments are not showing up right away. Okay, I need to go to this GoToMeeting application, open up the GoToMeeting application, only then I'm able to see the intimations of the comments. In the earlier versions of the GoToMeeting, it used to show me right away. As soon as you have typed the comments, it used to show me right away, and then it was easy for me. But now what I have to do is, time and again I am going to the comment section once in a while, opening the GoToMeeting, and only then I would know if there is any activity or not. Okay, so in case if I'm not responding to your comments, it is because I'm not able to, I mean, the GoToMeeting is not intimating me as soon as you have typed it. The earlier versions used to do it, and it was so nice. Anyways, now I have these two, okay, samplers. Okay, so this catalog, okay, you can compare to see if there is any issue. Okay, so here there is no values. Usually there is dynamic values. Either it will be in the headers. Okay, if you have any dynamic values, either it will be in the headers or it will be in the body, typical, or maybe a part of the URL as well. So these are the things that you will check for both of them. There is no easy way to check, so you have to select both of them and see if there is anything. I don't see any likelihood of any dynamic values, because in the URL I don't see anything like that, or in the body or parameters I don't see anything like that. The only place where you have to check is the headers. Okay, so headers also, you know, watch out for any alphanumeric values which doesn't make any sense to you guys. Okay, if you see something like that, those are the values that needs to be parameterized, but I don't see anything like that over here as well. And you compare the headers, they are more or less same. Okay, similarly you can go to login. There is no likelihood of having any dynamic values, because if you have dynamic values, it will be in the parameters, or it will be after the URL. Okay, or it could be in the headers. So I don't see anything over here, so I don't see any likelihood of it. And if you still want to compare, you can compare, they're absolutely similar. Okay, and you can compare the headers for both of them as well, because there is a chance of dynamic values to be in the headers as well. Okay, so compare both the headers, and visually you have to compare, because I didn't find any tool which will automatically do it for you. Okay, so that is the problem. Okay, and okay, so here now you see in the login, this one you see, okay, there is no likelihood of having any dynamic value in the URL, because the URL looks straightforward. Okay, and path also, it looks, server name looks straightforward, path also it looks straightforward. But in the parameters you see username is J2E, password is J2E, but you have some token called CSRF, and it doesn't make too much sense to me. It's an alphanumeric value, it doesn't make too much sense to me, and this is the likelihood of being a dynamic value. And to confirm that this could be a dynamic value, go to the similar sampler in the second recording and see what is the value. It is starting with F06BAB, and this is with 6FEDVD. So in both the recordings, this value, CSRF value, seems to be the dynamic value, and this seems to be correlated, definitely. Okay, and you can check the headers for the others to see if there is any issues. Compare both of them. Headers I don't compare at all. Most of the times I play back the script and the script has failed, then wherever the script has failed, okay, try to look at the headers for that, or some samplers above that. Okay, but usually I'll compare only the samplers, not the headers. Okay, very rarely you get a chance to, you have a chance of having a dynamic value in the headers. Very rarely. Okay, maybe 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 200. Maybe catalogs also you can check. There is no parameters, and likelihood of having a dynamic value is 0, because you don't see anything after this as well. But if you want, you can compare and confirm as well. You see, you can compare the logout as well. It's straightforward, and catalog as well. For both of them, it is same. Okay, so the only dynamic value visually comparing both of them, what I got is you have to correlate this value, which is CSRF. Okay, so the first step of identifying the dynamic values is done. We have recorded twice and compared. Now we have identified that underscore CSRF is a dynamic value. Why? Because from recording to recording, the value is changing. First time recording, it has generated a value which is starting with CSIFED. Okay, so if you want, you can copy this into your Notepad++ so that you can visually see it. This is the value of CSRF token for the first recording. Okay, and this is the value for the second recording. And if you put side by side, you see those two values are different. So definitely this is a dynamic value, and it needs to be correlated. Are we clear with this, guys? Are we clear with the first point as to how to identify the dynamic values using Jmeter? I'm asking all of you guys. There are 13 students in the class, and only Abdul has a chance to respond. Please take some little bit of efforts and just say why or no. Okay, I get already the strength is low. The strength came from 25 to 40. I'm little upset with that. Now, whoever are there who are not responding, right? I need some energy from you guys. I know it's only 1, 2, maybe 10 classes, maximum 7 to 8 classes are missing, but we will go through these 7 to 8 classes with a lot of energy. Okay? And try to learn as much as possible. And it's easier to get a job in Jmeter than LoadRunner, guys. LoadRunner, there might be a little more competition, but Jmeter, the competition is little less. So concentrate here, and then you can maybe easily get through a job, since it's a Jmeter. Okay. Now, how to correlate the values? How to correlate these values? Okay. So for correlation, first, what we have to do is this dynamic value. Okay, dynamic value. We have to identify the response. Identify the response in which we have this dynamic value. Okay, now what you have identified is the dynamic value in the request. Okay, this is the request, right? A sampler, here is an HTTP request. In the HTTP request, I have this dynamic value, but this dynamic value my Jmeter is not generating, or my client is not generating, or my browser is not generating. Server has already sent it to me, and I'm sending this back to the server. When the server has sent it to me, the server would have sent it to me in the response of one of my requests. So if you look at it, there are only 2 samplers ahead of this. Okay, this is the sampler in which I got the dynamic value. There are only 2 samplers which are ahead of this particular sampler or request. Instead of saying samplers here, I'll call it as a request only for this particular class, because the samplers are nothing but HTTP request. Okay, so there are only 2 requests which are ahead of this one, and in one of these responses, I would have the dynamic value. In one of these responses, I would have this dynamic value, because dynamic value is something server will send it to me. When server sends it to me, it will be in the form of a response. Okay, so usually, guys, okay, so here is my Jmeter. Okay, so here is the server. Okay, when from Jmeter it has sent the request, Jmeter or your browser, okay, or your browser, where the application you are browsing. Okay, so as you are browsing the application from the browser, or as you are executing the script from the Jmeter, both are one and the same. So you send the request to the server will send the response back. In the response, the server has sent this dynamic value. Okay, the server has sent this dynamic value. This is for, let's say, request 1. Okay, now let's say this is your request 1. Okay, now Jmeter has sent this request 3. Okay, request 2 also Jmeter has sent, and you got the response. Request 3 Jmeter has sent. This is the request 3. Okay, what Jmeter is doing is, whatever the server is sending this dynamic value, that dynamic value Jmeter is sending back to the server. That dynamic value Jmeter is sending back to the server, which is quite evident over here. Okay, Jmeter is not creating this dynamic value in this HTTP request. Okay, Jmeter is not creating this dynamic value. What is happening is, server has already sent this dynamic value to me, and I mean, when I said me, the Jmeter, and then the Jmeter is sending it back to the server. Okay, so when the server sends it to me, it should be in the response. Okay, it should be in the response of a request. Okay, are we clear, guys? All of you? Are we clear, all of you? Okay, are we clear, all of you, with this? Because I've already explained this to you in the LoadRunner concept. Okay, server is sending this dynamic value to me. I am sending it back to the server in this request called login83. I am sending it back to the server, but my Jmeter is actually not creating it. Server has sent it to me, and then I am sending it back to the server. If server has sent it to me, it should be in the response of login73, or it should be in the response of catalog56. It should be in the response of one of those requests. So if I have to look at the responses of this one of those requests, how do I look at the responses in Jmeter? If it was LoadRunner, you go to the snapshot view, or you go to the code generation log to look at the responses. But how do you look at the responses in the Jmeter, guys? If I wanted to look at the responses in the Jmeter, what do I do, guys? Where do I get the responses of login 73 or 56? Wonderful. Okay, it should be in the listener called view results tree. It should be there. But you see, I am going to the thread group. Okay, and I am looking at the view results tree. There is nothing there in the view results tree. So am I looking at right place or am I looking at the wrong place? And recording 2 is of no relevance now. So you can completely disable it. So it's of no use. This is done only to compare it. Now I'll do the correlation only for the recording 1. Okay, so I'm looking at the view results tree, nothing there here, guys. So you can unmute and you can speak if there's too much to type and too difficult to type. Okay, please unmute yourself and speak. So, okay, wonderful, Diva. You need to look at the view results tree which is there in the recording. Okay, which is there in the recording. Now, when will you have something in the view results tree in the thread group? Only when you execute this thread group, you have some activity or some log in the view results tree over here. Okay, because this view results tree is there in the thread group, and the whole purpose of having a thread group is to execute. So when you have the view results tree in the thread group, this view results tree is only you will have the log, or this the intention of adding this view results tree in this thread group is to see what is happening while playback. Okay, this is more like a log while playing back. Okay, this is more like a log while playing back. Okay, so this is the response log. But while recording, if you wanted to look at the log, okay, it should be there in the HTTP script recorder. This is more like your code generation log. This is more like your code generation log. This is your standard log in LoadRunner. Okay, so you would have to look it up in the HTTP script recorder in the view results tree. Okay, now tell me, guys, this dynamic value that I'm talking about. Okay, this dynamic value that I'm talking about should be there in the response of login 73 or in the response of login catalog 56. So let me go to the catalog 56. Okay, in the catalog 56, it should be there in the catalog 56. Okay, it should be there in the request or the response. Where it should be, guys? It should be there in the request. Catalog 56 have a request. Okay, has a request and the response. The request is nothing but this sampler. Okay, so when you send this sampler, basically you are sending that request. So here is the request that is being sent, and here is the response. So where would you look at, guys? In the request or the option 1 request or option 2 response? You have to look at in the response. Okay, in the response again there are two things. One is body and one is header. Where would you look at? Okay, option 1 header, option 2 body, option 3 both. 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, as you said, most likely 99% of the times it will be in body, but sometimes I have seen it in the headers as well, guys. Like you see J session ID here, it is there in the header. Okay, sometimes it could be in the header as well, but 99% of the times it will be in the body. Okay, go ahead and search it. Okay, fine. Okay, looks like it is not there. It is not there in the catalog 56. So that's about it. It's not there in the response of catalog 56. That's about it. No, I'll search in the headers. It's not there in the headers. That's about it. Or what should I do now? What is the next step? What is the next step? Okay, it is not there in the response of catalog 56. Now what? Okay, try in login 73. I do agree because I got the dynamic value here. I'm sending the dynamic value in this 83, so it should be there in the response of 73 or 56. I can search it in 56. Okay, so go ahead and 73. Okay, and then it could be there in both headers or body, but 99% of the times it should be in the response body. So I'll search first in the response body, and it is there in the body. Thank God it is there. Okay, now this is the response. You see, it's a response data. Server has sent it to me, and server has sent it to me in the response of 73, and in the 83, I'm sending it back to the server. Okay, I'm sending it back to the server. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear? Are we clear, all of you? Okay, and I have this whole logs in this recording.xml, which is there in the desktop, which is stored here. Okay, so in case if I do a clear all or something like that, I'll still have this one over here. Okay, and it will be visually cleared, but I can go ahead and get it from there, and that's the reason why I have stored this log in the recording.xml. In case accidentally if I do a clear all or whatever it is, I would still have it in this particular file. So that's the reason why. And you see how important it is. Without this log, I'll never be able to identifier as to where I'm getting it from the response. Okay, are we clear guys so far? Are we clear? Okay, wonderful guys. Okay, now Kumar, there are only two of them. Okay, two samplers you have it, and first you search in the response of sampler 1, then you search in the response of sampler 2. Ahead I have the dynamic value over here. Before this there are only two samplers, and I know the dynamic value should be there in the response of these two samplers. Since you have only two samplers, it was easy for you to go ahead and then search. Okay, but there could be 100 samplers. Okay, there could be 100 samplers ahead of this. Okay, before this there could be 100 samplers, and in the 100 samplers I might have this response in any of those 100 samplers. So should I go ahead and then keep searching in all those 100 samplers? No, they made it easy for us. You can go ahead and search here. When I go ahead and search here, okay, it will search the entire log, not just 204, not just 56, not just 73, but it will go ahead and search the entire log. Okay, let's go ahead and look at it. Okay, I have searched for this dynamic value from here. Go ahead and search it. Okay, what happened? Okay, now you see, carefully observe. Okay, it is highlighting. Can you see this box? Can you see this box? It is highlighting, which means that this dynamic value is there in this request. It could be in the response or it could be in the request, but it is saying that it is there in this log 73. Is it there somewhere? Yes, it is there in the log 83 as well. Is it there somewhere? Keep going down. No, it is not there anywhere else. Okay, if you keep going, it's not there anywhere else. There are only two places it is there. It is there in 73. This dynamic value, I've searched the entire log. How do I search the entire log? From this search button. And it is saying that it is there in the log 73 and it is there in the log 83. Okay, how it has highlighted. Can you see this box here, guys? Can you see this box here? It is highlighting. But it doesn't necessarily mean it should be in the response, but it's just saying that it is there in here. Okay, it could be in the response, it could be in the request. Now you can go to the body and you can search response body and you can search it and you got it. So in log 73 you have it in the response. In log 83, let's see where it is. Okay, in fact log 83 doesn't have a body at all. It has a header. Go ahead and search in the header. It is not there in the header. Maybe it could be there in the request. I'll go ahead and search it. Okay, is it showing somewhere, guys? Yeah, it is there here. That's what it is showing. Okay, it's there here. Okay, okay.
Hey, Kumar, quick question, Abdul here.
1 second. It is supposed to pick up, right? I'm not sure why it is not doing it, but it is supposed to identify. Anyways, so Abdul, I'll take your question. Let me complete. Let me come to the logical ending of it. So when it highlights, when you search, when it highlights, it necessarily doesn't mean that it is there in the response. It could be in the response. It could be in the request. In this sampler, it is there in the response, which I've shown you. In this one, it is there in the request, and that's why it is highlighting. But what I mean, this is how I start with while correlation. I'll search from here, wherever it highlights, I'll go to the first sampler and make sure that sampler is before the sampler where the request is there, where you know, in this request I have this dynamic value, so it should be before 83. So I make sure that wherever it is highlighting, it is before 83 or before this sampler. Go to the response body and search for it. Okay, go to the response body and search for it. This is how I identify the dynamic value in the response. Okay, Abdul, I'll take it. Just come. Let me complete this. Okay, so identify the dynamic value in the response. Okay, in the response. That's the first step. First step is done. I'll take Abdul's question, then I'll go to the second step. Abdul, please go ahead and ask the question.
My quick question was, if you try opening the recording.xml file in a Notepad++, and how we are going to distinguish the request 73, 83. How does it look, if you can open quickly?
So you want me to open this in the Notepad, recording.xml?
Yeah.
Okay, and you wanted to search for the value over here.
Yeah. Search for the count first, so you know there are only two counts.
Okay, so you already have it. So first we need to make sure if this is a response or a request. which you can look it up from here. Okay, this is the response data, so which is good. So you're looking at the right one. Okay, but how do we make sure that it is the response of login 84 or login or something like that, right? This is login 73. Maybe maybe the login 73 is there as well here. You never know. Okay, login 73. Okay, so is saying something login 73 somewhere. Okay, it says login 73 is also here. Okay, so interesting. This is more
So
like
there's
your
a static tag there that says HTTP sample, right? That's a request.
over here.
Yeah, on the line 514 HTTP sample 73.
That means
That is
that
what.
it's an HTTP request of login 73. If that is so, what I will do is, okay, first look for the dynamic value. Okay, so once you have the dynamic value, then this time around keep a search upwards. Okay, so usually it does a search downwards, right? Now you do a search backward direction and look for HTTP sample. Okay, and then look for this, and then it says login 73. It is there in the response of login 73. This is what I do. Do you agree with me, Abdul?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, so guys, Abdul has given us an easiest way to identify the dynamic value. Instead of opening the recording.xml over here and search it from here and then do it. This is also easy, and from searching from the Notepad++, and that is also easy. So this I think is still easy for people who are not familiar with the XML's opening, and then if that is overwhelming, this is the easiest way. Search, okay, search, it will automatically highlight for you. Go to the first sampler where it highlights, go to the response body, keep that value, find it, okay, and then make sure you have it. This is the easiest way, but what Abdul is saying is, instead of opening this recording.xml in the Jmeter, you can open this recording.xml in the Notepad++ and search for it, search for the dynamic value over here, okay, so dynamic value over here. This is more like your code generation log, guys, okay. Why is it not showing now?
So maybe you are searching on the backwards, right? You set the flag on the notepad.
Right. Good catch. Okay.
Yeah, now you can just count so that it will give you how many occurrences of that particular string is there on the notepad. I mean, not XML.
Okay. Then you can get the count. You just say count, there are two matches.
There are only two. One is from the
Or you
previous
say
request.
find all in the current document, it will show you where all it is there. Okay, this is the first occurrence which is there at line, oh no, this is the first occurrence which is there at line number 658. This is the second occurrence which is there in line number 84. Okay, the first occurrence, then backward direction. How do you do it? I am doing it in the backward direction and HTTP sample. Okay, so what is that you usually do, Abdul? Is there in login 73? Is this what you do, or we just figured out in the class? Okay, so fine, guys. So this is also the other way of doing it, opening from the Excel sheet and doing it. But I recommend you to do this. Okay, now
Either way, yeah, either way it's possible. Sometimes
either,
XML Notepad Plus become very easy to manage because the way how you start working, right? Slowly you lean towards the Notepad Plus Plus more.
Notepad++. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, eventually you get there. I know. Okay,
Yeah.
so okay, so first step is done, guys. Now the second step. Okay, so what are we doing? Where are we? Okay, so identify the dynamic values. Okay, so identify the dynamic values in the response that we have done. Okay, now second step is build the regular expression. Okay, build the regular expression. Okay, so that's the second step. You might be wondering why, but after the demonstration of it, you will be able to understand why we have to build the regular expression. But for now, just take my word for it and say that blindly think that you have to build a regular expression. But at a later point of time, I'll tell you why we are doing that. Why we are doing that. Okay? But for now, just think that you have to build a regular expression. In case if you are smart enough, if you might understand the answer right away, Because it's dynamic value. Because it's dynamic value, we have to build the regular expression. But if this answer is not clear enough for you now, definitely as I demonstrate, once we have completed it and once I am playing back, you will have 100% clarity as to why we are building a regular expression. Okay, we'll take a break of 10 minutes now. After the break, I'll show you how to build a regular expression. Okay, I'll show to build a regular expression. Okay, and there are three more steps. There are two more steps, guys, for correlate. Identify the dynamic value in the response, build the regular expression, then make appropriate changes in the Jmeter to capture the dynamic value using this regular expression, and finally change the hard-coded value. So those two steps also I'll tell you, but first we'll go through the second step. Okay, so after the break. Okay, thank you guys. So guys, are you able to hear me? Can one of you please confirm if you're able to hear me, guys? One of you please confirm if you're able to hear me. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Wonderful. So now we have identified the dynamic value in the response. Okay, here is the dynamic value in the response. Okay, so let me copy the entire thing onto a notepad++ file. Okay, so that it becomes easy for me. Okay, so here is the dynamic value from the response, which is your first step. Okay, out of this, here is the dynamic value. This is the only value which is dynamic in nature. And if it was load runner, this one would be called as what? If you're doing in load runner, what is that? What is the one that I've highlighted? What is that called as? Maybe you can type it, or maybe you can speak. You can unmute yourself and speak. What would you call this as? If it was load runner, what would you have that? Assuming that this is the dynamic value, what this would have been if it was a load runner, it would have been a wonderful heavy, it would have been a right boundary, and this one would have been this one would have been the left boundary, and this one would have been a right boundary, and we would have built it using a function called WebRedge save pair. Okay, WebRedge save pair function. Okay, that's what we would do if it was a load runner. But here that's not what I do. This is Jmeter is more like WebRedge save param underscore regex. Okay, wherein if you go with this function called regex, there is no left boundary and there is no right boundary, if you remember. Okay, we have to build a regular expression. We have to build the expression like that. So whatever you do for WebRedge save param underscore regex, the same thing that you're going to do here now for the Jmeter. Okay, so if it was a normal WebRedge save param function, okay, if it was a normal WebRedge save param function, you would identify the left boundary, right boundary, and build the WebRedge save, build the regular expression function. But if it was a regex, what you do is there is no left boundary, right boundary, you build an expression. Okay, so right now, whatever we have done by regex, for regex, exactly the same thing that we're going to do for this expression here now. Okay, so out of this whole thing, this is the dynamic value. And the value which is towards the left, that is constant, and the value which is towards the right, that is constant. So the value which is towards the left, which is constant, I'll paste it here. Okay, then there seems to be dynamic value. Okay, I'll leave some spaces for now on. Okay, for now, and then the value which is towards the right is also constant. I'll copy that as it is. The value which is towards the left, which is constant, I'll copy as it is. The value which is towards the right, I'll copy as it is. And this is the dynamic value which is there. And for this dynamic value, I will build the regular expression. For this whole thing, the regular expression will be dot star question mark. Okay, so again I'm telling you guys, okay, I'll take away the extra spaces. Okay, the value which is towards the left of this dynamic value, which is constant, I'll copy as it is. Okay, the value towards the right of this dynamic value, I'll copy as it is. But whatever is the dynamic value which is changing from time to time, this is the value which is changing from time to time, then whatever the value which is changing from time to time, you have to build the regular expression for that, and the regular expression for that is dot star question mark. Okay, dot star question mark. Now I have one more question here. Let me put all the questions, okay, that is arising from this one. Okay, so the first question was, okay, why to build the regular expression? Okay, the second question is, what is this dot star question mark? Okay, what is this dot star question mark? Okay, I'll answer one by one, guys. I'll answer all these questions one by one. Once I complete the demonstration of regular expression, I'll be able to answer these questions. First question, this is the second question. The people who already know what is dot star question mark, they can ignore this question, but the people who doesn't know what is this dot star question mark, okay, we'll answer that. Okay, now okay, I'll copy this regular expression. Okay, I'll take this regular expression as it is. Okay, now the third step. Okay, modify the Jmeter script to capture the dynamic value. Okay, script to capture the dynamic value. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to capture the dynamic value. If it was LoadRunner, the WebRed save param function would have done it for you. One of these functions would have done it for you. If you build this regular expression and put it over here, then the script will automatically capture it for you. So if it was LoadRunner, we will use a function called WebRed save param underscore reject. But now this is a Jmeter. I have to, there is no function called WebRed save param. There is another way of doing it. So we will do something called post processor. We'll have to add something called post processor. You see login 73, I'll right click on it and add a post processor. In the post processor, I'll see something called regular expression extractor. Okay, regular expression extractor. It will extract whatever is there, whatever the regular expression is there, it will extract that value. Whatever the regular expression is there, it will extract the value. Okay, what is this regular expression extractor? It will extract the value, whichever is the regular expression, it will extract that value. And why are we adding it to only 73, guys? Why are we adding it to only 73? Because we got the response in 73. We got the response in 73, and in 73 I have in the response of 73 I have that dynamic value, and that's why I'm adding this regular expression extractor to this log 73 sampler. Okay, log 73 sampler. Are we clear so far, guys? Except these two doubts that I have raised. Are we clear? Are we clear? Except these two doubts. Okay, two questions. Are we clear so far, guys? Are we clear so far? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and why we have added this regular expression extractor? To capture the dynamic value. And why only to 73? Because I found the response in 73. In that 73 response, I have this value, so I wanted to capture that value of which is there in the response of 73. So I'm adding that regular expression extractor. Now, what is the regular expression that I have built, guys? So here is the regular expression. Here is the regular expression. Okay, here is the regular expression. Okay, here is the regular expression. Wonderful. Okay, so what is this regular expression extractor will do in this whole expression? In this whole expression, which one is the regular? Which is the regular expression value? Here is the regular expression value, which is dot star question mark. And I expect that value to be captured. And this represents what? The dot star question represents. The dot star question mark represents this dynamic value, which changes from iteration to iteration. I wanted to capture that value. That value is there where? In this dot star question mark. Because whatever is there left to it, I have put it as it is, and whatever is there right to it, I have put it as it is. And this expression or this value is represented by this dot star question mark, which is the regular expression. Okay, I want this value, which is dot star question mark, to be captured. So now the Jmeter has extracted that value. It's to be stored in some variable. It should be stored in some variable, and that variable name I'm giving it here. Let's call this variable as CSRF token. Okay, give a meaningful name to the variable. I'm giving a meaningful name called CSRF token because this represents CSRF token or CSRF value. Okay, that whatever the value that you are extracting, it is stored in CSRF token. It is stored in CSRF token. Now, Jmeter has an issue, guys. It is a whole expression. This whole expression. How would the Jmeter know that this is the only value that needs to be extracted and put it into the CSRF token? Okay, how does the Jmeter know that this is the value that needs to be extracted and put it in the CSRF token? Maybe it might be thinking that this value needs to be extracted and put it over here, or this value needs to be extracted and put it into this variable, or this value. I mean, you are not specifying which value to be extracted and stored it into this variable. Okay, stored it. You see, name of the created variable. Store it into this created variable. So Jmeter has a question. So we need to tell to Jmeter as to which value needs to be extracted and stored it into this CSRF token. We know this is the value that needs to be, this is the value that is dynamic in nature, and that value needs to be extracted and stored into it. How can you tell to Jmeter? There is a way to tell to Jmeter by doing a concept called grouping, by doing something called group. Okay, by doing something called group. So you see, I have grouped this dot star question mark. Now what is there in the group? Whatever is there in the group, that value will be extracted and stored it in the CSRF token. Okay, so Kumar, instead of this, okay, instead of this, had I said this one, had I grouped this one, okay, so will it extract this value and store it in the CSRF token, guys? What do you say? Okay, had I grouped this post as the grouping, how do I know, how do I group with the opening braces and the closing braces? Had I grouped this, so it will extract this value and store it in the CSRF token, guys? What do you think, yes or no? Okay, Leslie says no, Hago says no, Leslie says yes. Okay, others, guys, what do you think? You need not have to be right, just give your answer. Logically think about it, okay, and give your answer. Okay, so you see Jmeter doesn't know what is the dynamic value, guys. Okay, whatever is grouped, it will simply take that value and put it in the CSRF token. Okay, 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 so whatever you group, it will take that value and put it in the CSRF token. But taking this value called POST, I don't have anything to do with that. Okay, that is not my interest. Taking this value POST is not my interest. My interest is to take this value, which is dot star question mark, because that is in dynamic in nature. Okay, so if I have to pick up that value, I need to group this value. I need to group this value. Okay. Now template $1. Again, Kumar, what is this $1? I'll take some time to explain this. Let it put it in the question window. What is this? $1. Okay. And then match number, I'll put it as 1. Again, that's an issue. What is it? Match number. Okay. And then finally, default value. Again, default value. Okay, we'll answer all this question one by one, guys, but I need your patience here. Okay, default value, I'll fold it as not found. Okay, now wonderful. So there are few questions which I will answer as I proceed further. Okay. Now this is $1, this is 1, and this is not found. There are so many assumptions that we have made. The assumption is we have to build a regular expression. There is something called dot star question mark. Okay, there is something called $1, match number, default value. Okay, I'll answer each one of them, but I'll take my own sweet time. Okay. now, okay, what is that I expect, guys? Whatever is there in this grouping, that value will be pulled out. What is there in that grouping? Dot star question mark. What the dot star question mark actually represents? The dot star question mark actually represents your dynamic value. Okay, in this case it is 6FED62C1 and blah blah blah, but maybe next time when I run, this value could be different, and that value is represented by this dot star question mark. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Let me go ahead and execute. Okay, when I execute, let's see what happens. Guys. Okay, when I execute, this request will be sent to the server. Server will respond back. In the response, you will have a dynamic value, but I have already added that piece of code to extract the dynamic value. You see, I have already added the piece of code to extract that dynamic value. How? By using this regular expression extractor. And you're storing it where, guys? Once you have extracted that value, where are we storing it, guys? Can somebody please explain it to me? Where are we storing that value once we have extracted it? Okay, so we have created a Jmeter variable called CSRF token, and I'm storing that value in that Jmeter variable called CSRF token. Okay, what is this CSRF token, guys? Remember, it is a Jmeter variable. Okay, so whatever the dynamic value is there, which is coming from the response of this server, I'm pulling that value and storing it in a variable called CSRF token. How? By adding this regular expression extractor, giving a variable called CSRF token, which will pull that dot star question mark, which is your dynamic value. Okay, dynamic value. Okay, now watch carefully, guys. Okay, we know that the dynamic value pulled out and then will be stored in the CSRF token, but I wanted to see the value when I'm executing. or I have, after the execution is completed, I wanted to visually see what is stored in CSRF token. How can I do it? What are the changes that I have to do to my Jmeter so that I can visually see what is there in this CSRF token after the execution is done? So what is that I have add to this existing script so that I can see the value which is there in the CSRF token. Do remember that CSRF token is a Jmeter variable. Wonderful, wonderful. So you will have to add something called a debug sampler. Okay, in that debug sampler you have to have a listener called view results. Okay, so I am expecting that so many people will give the answer. This is debug sampler 100 times we have added in this class. So whenever we wanted to see a Jmeter variable, every time we have seen the debug sampler. Okay, so why is that? I mean, you are supposed to answer these questions, guys. That's when I get the confidence. Okay, and you wanted to see what is stored in the CSRF token, which is the Jmeter variable. You add a debug sampler and view results tree. Definitely, you'll be able to see it. Let me go ahead and execute it.
Kumar, quick question. Since we started everything based off of a template, right?
Yeah, 1 minute,
So,
Abdul, just give me 1 moment, Abdul. Let me come to this logical ending. Okay, so otherwise, my mind will be cluttered, and then after I answering you, I might forget as to what actually I was about to tell. Okay, let me complete, guys. So you
no
see,
problem.
I went to the debug sampler, I went to the view results tree, and you see CSRF token. What is the value that has been extracted? Something else. Okay, while recording, what was the value? CSEF and all that. But now while playing back, you see what is the value? It is something else altogether. Looks like it is maintained the number of digits which is same for both of them, but this value is completely different. And whatever the new value which my server is giving, I'm pulling out that value and storing it in a variable called CSRF token. How do I know I'm storing it in the CSRF token? I've added the debug sampler, and in the view results tree, in the response data, in the response body, I'm clearly able to see the new CSRF token. Next time when I run it, will it be different? Guys, I'm running it again. Will it be different or will it be same? I'm running it for the same iteration. Will it be same as this EA73 blah blah blah, or will it be different? Will it be different? Same or different? Option 1 same or option 2 different? I want to hear from all of you.
Different.
It will be different. Okay. To confirm that, now you see, you look second iteration, you see CSRF token, it is completely different. Okay. Now you see, every iteration the value is getting changed, and that is the value that you're capturing. That is the value that you're capturing. So I've proved my point. That what was the point? That what is a dynamic value? Dynamic value is something which change from iteration to iteration and user to user. You see, I've run it for 2 iterations, and 2 iterations the CSRF token is different. You see, the first second iteration it is starting with DBD or something like that. The first iteration is starting with ES73. Okay, wonderful. We are not done yet. There is a 4th point which is there, but that 4th point I'll take it after I'm taking the question of Abdul. Abdul, please go ahead and ask your question.
My question was, since we started this project based on a template, right? So, are there any template which by default adds certain debug sampler and listener everything, so that when we start building a project, we have all necessary elements added to the project.
To be honest, Abdul, other than this debug sampler, I haven't added anything to this template. Okay, everything is there, including these user-defined variables, HTTP request defaults, cookies, and all that. Debug sampler is only used when we are debugging it. Okay, which is a rare thing. Okay, to be honest. And yes, if there are any templates, I usually use the recording templates and recording templates with think time, and both of them doesn't have it, to be honest. But you can explore this one, to be honest. Okay, Beans and Sampler, you don't want it to use it. This is only for web services. You can try this one, web test plan. Maybe you can try that one. I don't want it to do it because it will replace this
No
current
problem.
state.
No problem.
Okay.
Maybe we need to explore if we can create our own templates, and that would be better, I guess.
Yeah, it should be. If it is there, it should be there in this advanced web test plan. Web test. Okay, let me go ahead and quickly create it.
Sorry, I just derailed the whole.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So the advanced one doesn't have it as well. Okay, as well. I was expecting that the advanced web test plan is there, and I would recommend, in case this, if you don't get overwhelmed with this one, advanced web test plan is actually honestly good. In the last project, I completely used this one, but somehow I fell back to recording again in the last few days. Okay,
Okay.
advanced web test plan is pretty good, to be honest. Okay, so building
Sure.
this test plan. But debug sampler, nowhere it is adding. No, maybe you can explore the other ones. Okay, but it is
All
not
right.
adding it. Okay,
No problem.
recording
Thank you.
time. Recording the think time. Do you see? No. So I don't think there is one. Okay, which the Jmeter guys might not think it's necessary, or the debug sampler is that important. But I think if somebody of one of us write it to them, right, they will definitely create the templates or something like that. I believe so, to be honest.
Okay.
I lost it. Oh my god. Oh, I replaced the current script. Shit,
All
man.
right. You replace what?
Oh god. Okay, I lost the script. Bureau results 3. Oh my god, I lost the script. This is the reason why I don't change. Oh my god. Hang on, guys. Let me
I'm
create the
very,
script.
very sorry. I distracted you, Kumar.
I can take some other script, but you might get confused. That's the reason why I don't want you to take some other script.
I mean,
This is the
you had saved it, right? Or you overwrite
Oh
it?
yeah, I have saved it. I have saved it. Hang on, hang on.
Okay.
Regular expression extractor. Okay, is this the same one? I never
No,
say.
no, no.
This is
No,
something actually. Okay,
that's a different.
but anyways, this script is there already, so we'll use this script. Okay, this is the same thing, right? CSRF token is there. Okay, okay. Is a different script, but it is same, guys. As you can see here. Okay, so you have a login. Okay, for the login, instead of some number here, it is 364, but the script is still same. Okay, is it okay, guys? Can I use this script? It's the same script, more or less. It's the same script. Gaurav, it automatically saves, but what happened is I've created a template and it asked me to save it. I saved the template, but looks like I didn't give a different name, so it just gone. Okay, so it saved it. Okay, I have saved it, Gaurav. It's not that I haven't saved it, but what happened is when I created a new template, it prompted me to save the new template, and I saved it, and it has overwritten my old file. Okay, that's what has happened. Anyways, now that I have this script, I'll go ahead and use this script. So where was I totally lost the flow. Modify the Jmeter script to capture the dynamic value. I was executing this, and I was showing you in the debug sampler that for each iteration, okay, it is still the same. Okay, here you don't have the log file, but that's fine. Okay, so you see, when you go to this one here, I have named it as what? Session ID. Instead of session ID, I'll name it as a CSRF token. CSRF token. Okay, so let me do a clear all and run it. Okay, and then okay, so you see CSRF token, here is the value that you have captured. Wonderful, guys. So wonderful. Okay, now we are capturing the CSRF token, but when we execute it, still okay. I've already done all the work here. That's the problem. Okay, so there was still that dynamic value which was there. Hang on. When I've recorded it, okay, so when I've recorded it, this is what it was, guys. Okay, the dynamic value was there. So if I go ahead and execute this script, okay, so go ahead and execute this script, my login is still failing. You see, my login is still failing. Okay, so I have extracted that value. I've extracted that dynamic value and stored it in the CSRF token. That is done. Now I'll go ahead and execute the script. All the samplers have passed, but this login 375, it is still failing. Okay, where we have this dynamic value, which is login 375 in this case in the new script. Okay, so this login 375 is still failing. If you have any doubts, go to this view results tree where it stores the log for the replay. And if you look at it, it is still failing, which is there in the red mark. And if you look at it, it is saying that white label error page in the response data. And if you're not comfortable looking at the HTML data, not an issue. Over here there is option called browser. You select the browser, and this is the error that you see on the browser. You see white label error page, and you are not able to log in, and there is something called forbidden, which is 403. Typically you will have this kind of things like 403 when the session ID that you are supposed to send, or CSRF tokens that you are supposed to send, this usually authorize something. This usually authorize something, and this forbidden means the authorization is not done. Okay, the authorization is not done. Whenever you see something like 403 and this forbidden, where am I seeing 403? When you go to the text, and you will see something called status 403. And if you go to the browser, you will be able to see this. And if you're not comfortable using this HTML, which is not difficult for us to understand, but still you're not comfortable, you see, it's no big deal, guys. White label error, okay, the application has no explicit marking, there is an unexpected error, status is 403. So again, if you're not comfortable looking at it, you can go to the browser and see. But you see, for status 403 is also stayed here, and whenever you see this 403, typically it has something to do with the authorization. Okay, it is not 404 error. 404 is something which is a problem. Okay, different problem. Okay, but 403 is more or less, you know, like an authorization. It's more like a forbidden. It is, you're not allowed to see that content. There is that content there, but you're not allowed. Why you're not allowed? Because you are sending some CSRF token which is not from current session. Okay, it is from the previous session. Okay, so now we know that this is failing, even though after going through all the 3 steps, but still it is failing. Okay, we have identified the dynamic value in the response, we have built the regular expressions and modify the Jmeter script to capture the dynamic value into the Jmeter variable. Okay, so all that is done, all this is done. Okay, all this is done, but still it is failing. Why? Because in your sampler or in your request, you are still sending this old session ID or old CSRF token. Okay, where is the new CSRF token stored, guys? Where is the new CSRF token stored? Where is the new CSRF token stored, guys? Can unmute, somebody can unmute and then give me. Okay, so Diva says it's in the debug sampler. You are able to see that in the debug sampler, but where it is stored? Where it is stored? Okay, it is stored in
the variable CSRF token.
CSRF token. Okay, the new CSRF token which is generated by the server and giving it to me, that CSRF token you are storing it into a Jmeter variable called CSRF underscore token. I need to pass that one here. This is the old one when I'm recording. Okay, and when I'm passing the old one, the script is failing. Now you have to pass the new one. Okay, is this the way we need to pass the new one, guys? Is this the way we have to do it, or do we need to make any changes to it? Is this good? Quickly, guys, I want answers from you quickly. Okay, maybe it's an obvious question. Okay, so all of you might know it. Okay, but you might get overwhelmed. Okay, but yeah, done. Okay, now you're passing whatever the new value which server is giving it to me. I'm capturing it in the CSRF token. I'm sending it back to the server. Okay, whatever the new CSRF token which server is giving, it should be in the response of this request. Since it is there in the response of request, I have built a regular expression extractor to extract the value which is there in the response of this request. So how? By using this regular expression, and whatever the value that I want, I put it in the grouping and then capture that value into the CSRF token, and I'm sending that value back to the server using this CSRF token. Now I expect the script to pass. Let's see if it passes this time around. Oh, it is still failing. No, this is from the previous. I didn't clear it, guys. This is the log from my previous execution, but this is the log from my current execution, and you see you are able to log in with Isha test 1. But earlier it has failed. But now for the same thing which is login 375, it it is passing now, and it is able to see. You are able to, and you can. I'm looking it in the browser view. I'm looking it in the browser view. Okay, so you're able to log it. You're able to log. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear? All of you? I know it is difficult to understand at one go, but I tried my level best to make it as simple as possible. Okay, simple. Okay, let's quickly go through all the steps, guys. First, identify the dynamic value in the response. How do you do it? You go to the code generation log. In the HTTP script recorder, there is a view results tree. You go to the view results tree. Looks like this is erased now because of various reasons. This is not the same script I'm using. I had to use some other script because some mess up has happened. So in the view results tree, you search for the dynamic value from this box. Okay, and once we search for the dynamic value, get that complete text. Okay, and then build the regular expression. How do you build the regular expression? Whatever is the dynamic value, just change that with opening braces, closing braces with a dot star question mark. Okay, remember that. Okay, then modify the Jmeter script to capture it. Now that this regular expression is built, copy it, and then wherever you see that dynamic value in whichever the sampler, in the response of whichever the sampler you see the dynamic value, just build a regular expression extractor. How do we do it? Right click on it, go to the post processors and regular expression extractor, and this one, simply wherever the regular expression is there, just copy that regular expression, whatever you build over here. And whatever the value that needs to be extracted, that value, whatever the value that needs to be extracted, that value should be there in the group. And whatever the value that needs to be extracted, it needs to be stored in a Jmeter variable. You give a possible variable name over here. And here $1 and here 1 and notch match 1. Okay, and once the value, you know that you have done everything possible to capture the value into the CSR. Once the value is there in the CSRF token, wherever you need to replace it, just replace it. Here there is only one instance where we need to replace it, but there could be some scripts wherein there are 10 places we need to replace it. So go ahead and replace it in the 10 places. Now you execute it, okay, it will be passing. Okay, fourth step is modify the script to pass the Jmeter variable. Okay, instead of a hard-coded value. Okay, so here are the steps, guys. Here are the 4 golden steps to do the correlation. 4 golden steps to do the correlation. Okay, are we clear, all of you? There are some questions which are pending from this, which I will take it. Slowly I'll explore and take it. Okay, but whatever I've told, I hope it is clear. Okay. Yeah. So we will stop the class here today, guys. Okay. In the tomorrow's class, I'll answer these 4 questions, which is wonderful. Which gives you the total clarity on the correlation. Only if I answer these questions and explore and play around with that, you will get a complete clarity on the correlation part, guys. Complete clarity on the correlation part. Right now, there is still be little bit of ambiguity, but after I answering these questions, you will get the total clarity as to what is this correlation, why are we doing this. Okay, and somebody who doesn't want to go through the pain of this correlation, okay, recently one of my students has given me this wonderful tool, okay, wherein you can the tool seems to do the auto correlation. Okay, somebody has built the tool, okay, which will automatically correlate it. Okay, so let me take away the proxy, guys. Okay, 1 second. I haven't explored this as well, okay, but I expect that you can explore it, because manually correlating might be certain times it's a pain in the neck. So what I would do is I would advise you to use this in case if it is working, guys. Okay, so 1 minute. Where is my? Okay, so this one is here. Okay, so I haven't explored this yet. Okay, looks like it will automatically correlate for you. Okay, GMX file to correlate, and then correlate based on the technology, or correlate using the JPort use files, or correlate using the comparison. So they have given 3 options. Try these 3 options, and once I think it will help you to it will correlate, and you might have to download it. Let me say correlation via comparing. Next step. Okay, select the JMX file. you have to give the JMX file. Okay, so right now already I have correlated it, but I have to create a script and give it to it. So let me see if I have any script, which I haven't correlated. Okay, I think random script is not correlated. Okay, let me see the script called random. Okay, so let me enable all of them. Okay, enable them and purchase a script. Okay, okay, I haven't correlated these two values, source and FP. Let me see, it will do the correlation and give it to me. Okay, so and registration also, let me see if there is anything that needs to be registered. I mean, anything needs to be correlated. Let me see. Okay, I actually, honestly, guys, I haven't used it myself. So, but if it is working, right? Okay, I would strongly recommend you to use this. Okay, so if the correlation is done well, the correlation is done, then definitely these two values in login 18 sampler, it is supposed to correlate. Okay, this script is random script. So let me upload this script. It is there on my desktop. Okay, so random script, let me upload it, random.jmx, and correlate using the comparison script. Next, okay, please
Using
choose
LoadRunner.
log to correlate. Oh, okay, I don't have the recording log here, so I have to create a new script now because it is asking for the log as well, JTL recording. Okay, so hang on, guys, let me record. I mean, if you want to stay back and listen to it, you can, guys. This is exploratory thing in nature. Okay, so you can listen to it. If you choose to go, it's fine, but I would recommend everybody to stay back and look at it. You see, we are exploring a new thing. Okay, now I have to record because it is asking for the JTL file as well. Okay, so should I send that Gaurav Datte? I'll do that. Hang on. Okay, but okay, let me quickly, okay, record it, guys. Okay, CF apps, JPEG store. So here is the URL, Gaurav. Okay, so let me send it to you. Okay, now I'll go ahead and record it. Okay, so whoever is interested to explore this J correlate, you can try it. This could be from, I don't know from whom this is. Let me see. Who is this from? I don't know which guy has done it. JMX enhancer. Okay, somebody has done it. I don't know who it is. Okay, fine. Let me go ahead and.
I think there are a couple of tools on this side. They provide lots of customized tool for the performance testing purpose. Very good
Is it?
site.
Okay. Oh, there is a log, but I don't know this log is to which this log belongs. Okay, I'll go ahead and then create the script altogether. Okay,
That's the log
but
which you recorded, Kumar, last time.
okay, so let me go ahead and use the templates to create it. I'll start with the recording template. Okay, so and whatever the log that gets generated. Okay, uh, whatever the log that gets generated, I'll store it on the desktop, guys. Okay, so I'll store it over here. Okay, now let me go ahead and quickly record it. Okay, so let me go ahead and then set up the proxy. So what are the other tools, Abdul, that this website is providing? And do you know who is doing this? I mean, any idea as to like what is he and what is his credentials and all that? Did you have to explore anything?
I was the other day I was just browsing through. I came up a couple of plugins what these people are providing for LoadRunner as well as Jmeter, I believe, or just for Jmeter, I think so. So the only thing what I notice is they are on external world, as in they are open. But when we work in a corporate sector, we don't get this privileges of exporting the proprietary information to the public domain.
I get it now. Okay, I got it. It makes sense
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
yeah,
So that's a pain in the neck, right? I mean, yeah. So they won't allow you to upload to anywhere. I mean, because this is a sick. I mean, there could be a lot of stuff which could be there which
yeah.
cannot
For
be.
security reasons, that's the thing. Yeah.
but I wish they provide something like a downloadable small plugin or a tool wherein you don't have to upload anywhere. Okay, that would have been a fun. Okay, now you see I have created a script and I know if the correlation is done well. Okay, this value CSRF token will be correlated. Let me save this. Okay, I'll save this as a J correlate because we are exploring the J correlate option. Okay, J correlate .jmx. Okay, so save it and the log will be there in this recording.xml. Okay, now I'll go ahead and explore it. Okay, let me remove the proxy now. Okay, so that I will be able to browse. Okay, now I'll go ahead and select this J correlate option, and JTL is what in the desktop. I don't have a JTL file, but I stored it as a this file, okay, XML file. I think they will allow that. Please choose the recording log. They wanted in the JTL itself. Is there a way to convert this JTL to XML to JTL, or I have to record again? What do you say, guys? Is there a way to convert? Guys, what do you say? Is there a way to convert a XML? I have recorded a JMX XML file and it's not taking. Is there a way to convert that to JTL? No, I believe. Oh my God, I need to.
Will that plugin from Jmeter do that?
It will not take the log file at all. It will just take the XML. I mean, it will just take the JMX file. Is there a way to? I mean, this is where you have the log file, right? So, is there a way to? Is there a way to convert that? Configure. They want a JTL file itself. So weird, right? So
Just save that JTL. Yeah.
I have to do it
Yeah,
again.
JTL is there, right, on the file types.
Yeah, I can store it, but I have to record it again. So I thought, is there if there is any recording which will take care of it? I mean, there will automatically instead of me recording again. I was thinking probably it will take care of it. Now I have to set up the proxy again. Okay. Now I have to go ahead and record again and clear the cache as well. Now it will not allow. So I need to clear the cache. Okay. So let me go ahead and then record it again. G2E and sign out. Stop recording. And that's about it. So I have the script ready. Okay, I have the script ready, and if everything happens fine, it needs to correlate here, and I have the JTL log as well. Okay, so let me upload it here. First, let me take away the proxy again because I need to browse. Okay, and then let me go ahead and okay, uh, refresh this. Okay, so what is the script here? Saved it. jcorrelate.jmx. So where is the script here? jcorrelate.jmx. JTL log file is recording.jtl log file. Use this option. Please choose a Jmeter script to compare with the original script. I have to record it twice, or I'll say using the technology in that case. Okay, so select the technology. Mine is what? A Java based. Okay, so let me see that. So oops, we are not able to identify any correlations. So this is not 100% right. So maybe using the Jmeter port rules, I try to try it. I think third one will definitely work. Okay, please choose the valid correlation rules. I have to create the correlations and do. So I think comparison is the only way, which means that I have to record it once more. So let me start from the scratch, okay, and then I think it is doing the comparison as well. Okay, it makes sense now. Okay, it is comparing the two scripts and it is doing it. Now I know how it is able to do it. Logically, I'm able to figure it out. Okay,
I mean, if
so
you have to do all that, Kumar, why don't you just do manually, right?
yeah, but somebody, if you have 30 to 40 correlations, right, then
Yeah.
then it makes sense. I'm telling you. Okay,
I mean,
recently I
even
was
if it,
working on a project wherein there are 30 to 40 correlations, and it was
but
such a
even
pain.
if you have a massive correlation, no, number of correlations or more, you need to do individually. Remember, you cannot just do in a mass.
Yeah, but here I think it will do it to you and give it to you. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, if the
Just
tool
like the
is
load
that
runner,
good,
you mean?
just like LoadRunner, it is using the same algorithm. You are taking the two recordings, okay, recording
Mm.
one and recording two, and then just like what I manually told you as to how to do it, it is doing that. Okay, it is comparing both of them, and then it is correlating, I believe. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, looking at what all the differences are there, it is trying to do that, I believe. Okay, but all this pain is not worth if it is only one or two correlations, but you're not at all good at identifying the dynamic values, and even though you have identified you're not good at correlating, then you can use this tool. I believe so. Okay, so maybe save this as a, okay, save this test plan as J correlate 2 or correlate, yeah, correlate 2. Okay, so wonderful, I have done it. Okay, now let me see what the tool will ask for. Okay, this JMX enhancer. Okay, comparison.jmx is J correlate 2. Okay, now next step. Oh, I don't have a proxy, that's the problem. Okay, hang on. Okay, so I have to set up again, I have to clear the proxy again. I mean, interesting. I mean, this is good to know. Okay, so, but if there are a lot of correlations, then I think this makes sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make too much sense. Okay, so you see, it has identified the value. Wonderful. Okay, so now you can add the correlations manually. Okay, so this is good. Add the correlations manually. Oh, no, 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 no. I don't want it to add anything. Whatever it is shown, it is good enough for me. So it is trying to correlate all this, I think. Enhance and download. Okay. Success, your script has been correlated and will be downloaded shortly. Thanks for using this one. Okay. So it is correlated. Okay. Now show all. Okay. Showing the folder. Okay. Now let me open this one. Okay. If it has correlated it, you should be able to see the correlation here. Wonderful, it has correlated for you. Wonderful, wonderful. So where it has added the regular expression extractor, okay, here seems to be the regular expression extractor. Not bad. I mean, I'm impressed. Okay, I'm impressed. So if there are 30, 40, it will automatically do it for you. Okay, so guys, whoever is stayed back to see the, I mean, curiously looking at it to see if this J correlate actually works, it is working, guys. Okay, I'm sure it would have been working, otherwise, people would not be using it. Okay, so wonderful, guys. Okay, beta passed. Wonderful, Abdul. Okay, so use it if there are more than 2 to 3 correlations, or you have done all the correlations possible and still your script is failing and you think the correlations needs to be done more. Just record twice, and when you store the log in the JTL file, not the XML. Make sure you store the log in the JTL for one of the recordings. Record twice and then upload it, and you have the script correlated. This just works like LoadRunner, guys. Okay, please do send the recorded sessions. I'll do send recorded. So far never I missed it, and I will not miss it again, or in case I'll not miss it as well. So yes, this is important, Diva, as I've told you, because it is difficult to understand these correlation concepts. Take it and then play around and practice it, guys. Okay, so J correlate is actually working, guys, whoever is interested. Gautam, Raghu, Diva and Abdul stayed back. Yes, for you guys, I'm telling you, J correlate is from God. You record twice and upload it. That's it, nothing else. But when you save the log file, save it as a JTL, not a XML. Okay, you're good to go, guys. Okay, So we'll close the session here today. Any questions? 4 people stayed back. Any questions? We'll answer these questions tomorrow, guys. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Take care,
Thank you.
Baba. Yeah. Thank you.